Gummy bears. Let's see, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it is May 7th of 2021. It's 2 a.m. in the morning. I just got a message popped up on the monitor down here in the corner. Not on the screen you're seeing, but on my other screen over here. Your version of Windows 10 has reached end of service. Click to download a new version of Windows to stay supported. And of course, I did click on that, and nothing happened. I did a search. And for people for the last few years, I get the apparently I get this message, and you don't need to do anything. Apparently, it will just correct itself. I guess the next time there's a new version. But I did a stupid thing the other day.
Jim, I want to tell you something.
Okay. I'm back. I mentioned this, I think, a couple times, you know, in videos. My ex-wife and I live together. I mentioned that a lot of times here, but she's not very tech with, even though she uses it, you know. She used to sell stuff. I got her when we got divorced, and she needed extra money and stuff. She was trying to do stuff, and I bought a computer for her and the kids and everything, and you know, got her the hardware she needed so she could sell stuff on eBay, and she did very well for, you know, for years and years using it. That was the way for her to go. But anyway, she's not very high tech on, you know, she doesn't want to update the, you know, the computer that she uses in there. She complains if it's going to update or something, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, she's not into it. Anyway, when the Echo device, Amazon's Echo devices came out, you know, I got one, then I ended up getting another, you know, and I have several. I have one I'm not even using, but so I told her about, you know, and she was like, and I said, you know, just, well, if you don't, you know, so put it in there. And I thought that she probably would never use it, and unfortunately she uses it all the time. I mean, all the time. And she can do the thing, you know, send an announcement to me to tell me something. And but then she does, she watches television like 24/7. She's in a wheelchair, and she watches these game shows, and somebody is mentioned or whatever, and then she'll ask, you know, Echo, how old is so and so, you know. And then she started doing, which I found a little bit, it never occurred to me, you know. And like a movie star or whatever, she would ask, how much is how much is so and so? Well, she wouldn't know enough to do net worth, but you know, she'll ask, how much is the person worth? And stuff like that. So yeah, she is using the thing, but then I can't get her to. She puts reminders on there for like with using a, I guess a timer, or no, I think a timer. Anyway, she'll put a message to remind her to add stuff to the grocery list instead of, you know, you can create a list and stuff, and she could add it, say add this to the list, but she doesn't. She just has announcements. So the thing, finally our cat had learned, you know, because the thing would go off, she was using that to a time, you know, to feed the cat. And so when the cat would hear the voice, you know, the cat would be, and then so she started adding all these other things, and the thing pops on with the same thing. So anyway, um, says here, major cruise ship companies may avoid Florida if the state doesn't permit COVID-19 vaccination checks. South Carolina and Montana to end all pandemic unemployment benefits for jobless residents. By the way, I think you all know it. I'm sure you've seen it in the news. I don't really go to Facebook. Well, I go to Facebook. I have to go to Facebook sometime. You know, if a relative posts a picture or something. I haven't seen anybody, but your vaccination card for the virus, do not display that for people. They're using that to get access to information and all kinds of stuff. I guess the attempted robbery at a Wells Fargo bank is still in the hostage situation thing in Minnesota. And that school shooting the other day, it was a girl. I forget, she was young. I'm not sure if she's in middle school or what. You know, pulled a handgun out of her little backpack, you know, that has flowers or something on it, or, you know. I went to Washington, D.C. a few years ago to, I've mentioned this before. I'd never been to Washington, D.C. and a big news, you know, history fan and just everything, you know, and all these movies and things and news, every day on the news you see. So I finally went there. And my oldest daughter and her husband, they're vegan. And so while I was there, a couple times I did pop out, and I went one time to a hamburger place, got myself a hamburger. Another time I went to the mall that was very close, so I could walk there, and went to the Chinese thing there. I like Chinese food, and I had some of that. But other than that, for the 2 weeks that I was there, I ate. Now, they had mentioned this, not this, but they had mentioned a restaurant there that serves only vegetarian food. It's a nice restaurant, and everything there, you can't get anything that's non-vegetarian. Well, I guess that'd be cooked food. I guess you could get a Coke or something. I don't know. But so before we left, or before I left, I said, okay, well, this restaurant that you talk about that has such great food, I said, I'll buy for us all. You know, let's go. So we went over there, and they ordered their each one of them, you know, LaDonna, there's a thing that she liked, and that's what and then her husband, Aaron, he ordered a plate that he liked. And they had a thing on the menu a sampler or something. And I ordered that, a little bit of everything. And it was all, that's the best food I've ever had. Unbelievable. I didn't know you could make vegetarian food that was, you know. And then of course I shared it, you know, with them, and because they were trying to, you know, it was like it was a sampler dish, and they were like, wow, they like that, you know, like that too. So when my oldest daughter, when she became a vegetarian, and you know, she'd come to visit us, she'd bring like vegetarian hot dogs from the grocery store or something. We could not, you know, and she thought it was okay because, you know, she's in that frame of mind, and she thought they were okay. And some other items, you know, another time we'd see her or whatever, and she said, "You got to try this." I positively could not eat it. It was like, where do I spit this out? Then later on, they came to when I was living, when we were all, you know, part of the living in Carrollton, yeah. So they drove me down to Dallas, you know, and we went to the museum there where, you know, the book depository where Lee Harvey Oswald shot John F. Kennedy. And but anyway, one of the things they wanted, after that they then drove me, and I think, I can't remember who else, you know, there was one of the kids, other kids, and they had a list. They were living in California at that time, and they had listed a vegetarian, you know, this is the best vegetarian place in Fort Worth. So, and it was in like along the railroad tracks where like there had been a station or something converted into a restaurant. I couldn't eat it, you know. Then when I was, when the movie came out, BBS, the documentary, I went out to California where they were for the release of it, and I came the furthest distance because I was in Florida at that time, and I flew out there for that. I also got the biggest joke or biggest laugh when the documentary was being, and the guy who made the documentary, when I got there, Jim, I haven't burned the DVDs yet, so I can change it, but I just wanted you to know that, you know, and if you're offended, you get the biggest laugh, you know, when this thing has been screened to some other people. And I didn't know what it was, and well, I know now, but I said, I don't care, you know. So it stayed in there. But when I went out there, the same thing, LaDonna and Aaron said, okay, there's this restaurant that is supposed to be, you know, it's vegetarian, and they're supposed to have really good food, you know. Now, they hadn't eaten there, but they got in some kind of a list. So we went there, and I you know, there again, I just couldn't, you know. I mean, I might have chewed it up and swallowed it, but it was not good. But when I, you know, years later, when I went to I have those videos, 5 or 6, I don't know how many, on here of me in Washington, D.C. But by that time, and so I ate while I was there. Like a couple times I did go out on my own. But the food that LaDonna and Aaron, it's like a joint thing, you know. I mean, in the kitchen, I visited with them in the kitchen while they were both. They had it down, you know, who chops up this and that, all that kind of stuff. And the food was okay. I mean, I would have preferred a McDonald's or anything like that, but it was okay. So they've learned how to make, and in the beginning, I think all these vegetarian people, they all want to, they're convincing themselves, you know, hey, this is great food, it's vegetarian food. And there's companies that put out, you know, vegetarian, I don't know what, vegetarian hot dogs, because I know I've seen those. And anyway, that's my thing about those un-American vegetarians, vegans. Medics in India ordered to run from ICU when oxygen ran out. Medical staff in India were ordered to flee from the ICU in fear of attacks from grieving family members. I could see, you know, people
frantic knocking on the door to an intensive care unit for COVID patients. There's confusion among relatives and police. When they push inside, what they find is horrific. The ICU has been abandoned, except for its patients. And they're all 6 dead before the doctors left. A voice says, everyone ran away. There are no medicos here. There's no one here. No doctor, no guard. How can doctors run away leaving patients? A crime's been committed here. How can you leave them? He yells at a police officer. There's been no crime. There has been a tragedy. Medical staff were ordered out of the ICU and to hide when the oxygen ran out.
It's little hospitals like this that really form the backbone of the public health structures right across India. They're very much on the forefront of the COVID pandemic, dealing with the patients, but also dealing with the emotional fallout.
It's that fallout that caused them to briefly flee. Here's why. 4 days earlier, bereaved relatives of another deceased COVID patient attacked staff, forcing calls to the police from doctors. When the oxygen ran out in the ICU a couple of days later, another attack on the doctors began.
15 people attacked us. We were sitting. And then I requested my doctors and staff, you please run away and hide on the third floor until I manage the situation, because I don't want to get them hit at any cost.
COVID cases have soared past 20 million in India, with the official death toll climbing towards 4,000 a day. Many people have died through lack of oxygen. There is growing anger at state and national governments, but it's often medics who bear the brunt.
Please help us, understand us, love us, respect us. Because everyone can be on the ICU bed any hour of the day. You have to need doctors to supply the oxygen to the patient. If you'll hit them, then who will take care of your patients?
Her staff are back at work, and the ICU again filled with patients. There is ample oxygen here, at least for now. But as scientists are warning of a third Indian pandemic wave before the second has even peaked, anger and fear will continue to grow.
Wow.
Now, Jake, Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister, has reaffirmed his commitment to a $1.8 billion
As I mentioned before, I spent, 30 years working hospital security. But wow, I'm glad that I'm not working, I stopped working hospital security, and I worked from hospital security from 1972 to the first part of 2000. And then I went to, well, then I did the census, 2000 census for the Census Bureau. Then I ended up in Orlando, Florida, and I went to a contract security company. The entire 30 years that I worked in Kansas City area, and I worked other, you know, other areas in the greater Kansas City area, hospitals. I think I worked 6, 7 different hospitals. But then when I went to Florida, Florida, Orlando, I went to a contract security agency. I'd always worked, when I was working for hospitals, I always actually worked for the hospital. I was an employee, not a contract employee. But I went into this, you know, I really had never intended to work security again. I never really intended to work, you know, again. But I ended up, you know. But I went to this company, you know, contract, and they said, you know, I'm looking for, you know, sitting in a lobby or something, just checking people in and out. I've done enough security work, you know, over 30 years of it, and just check, you know. And then of course they saw my thing. Oh no, we need you. Thank God you're here. You're going to be in charge. I mean, I know, I don't want to be. You know, you're going to be in charge of this hospital security. You know, of course I'd be a contract employee, but I'd be in charge of the contract employee. You know, and I ended up going there for a while and doing that, and that was bad. Of course, nothing like, you know, like this. So, man, I'm glad I'm not working hospital security now, and I feel so sorry for all of the people. You know, people who are having to work. Like one time, one of the hospitals I worked at, a small town, and hepatitis C is not really supposed to be, well, hepatitis C is bad to get it, and it's easily transmitted, you know. And, you know, if you get it, you can then, you know, you're going to have probably problems going on with your life. And so, you know, hospital employees, of course, are tuberculosis and hepatitis C. I think that's it. Tested for, you know, you're tested for that. But in this small, anyway, hepatitis C, you get it easily. And then you have to be careful that you don't transmit it to somebody else. And, but when you initially get it, it's, you know, it's not like going to kill you immediately. But down the road a piece, you know, it maybe, you know, destroy your liver or something, and it can cause, you know. But in this small town, and this hospital I worked at was a small hospital, the only one in the area, you know. I mean, well, you could drive 15 or 30 minutes away to other hospitals, but that was a small town, and I think 3 or 4 people died from the virus. And I don't think it was the CDC, you know, not the federal government CDC. I think it was the state of Missouri, their health department or agency or whatever it was. They sent some people to Belton, Missouri to, you know, set up an office. I think they set up the office in a small hospital that I worked at. The reason I don't know is because the hospital I worked at, we only had security on midnight shift. Well, I came in at 6 p.m. and on Friday and on Saturday and Sunday, but But, so- but it, anyway, they were just surprised at why are people dying from hepatitis C. And it turned out there was a restaurant like on the main street in Belton that it was like that's where the locals went. You know, every morning the people would go there before they went to work, and they'd get, you know, not everybody, but you know, have breakfast. And then there was people that came over from, you know, the workers in the area or whatever, and they'd come for lunch. And it was just a place, you know, in this town that was, and that's where it tracked it down to, that's where it was. And then they tracked it down to the ice machine. When people ordered, you know, Coke or Dr. Pepper or whatever with ice, you know, they have this machine that makes ice cubes, and somebody didn't wash their hands well after using the bathroom or whatever, and that was the source of it. And so now you know all about hepatitis, thanks to me. I made a change here. I did have over here, let's see which camera, let's see. Well, now you can see both these cameras, or both the monitors. I did have, this is what setup I did have. And then I went to one monitor here and computer here, and then my Chromebox over here. Then that worked out for like a day, and then I decided, no, I just want to back both sides in. Because it was like, you know, the Chromebox really wasn't any reason for me to run it. I can do everything with my Windows, you know, computer. And I really don't need, I don't really need that. I have two of those, by the way, Chromeboxes that are like unused, basically. I finally got the Sound Blaster. It gave me trouble for a while, the Sound Blaster card on the desk here. I had some, I don't know what the deal with the situation is. So then I've gone back here to my Elgato Wave 3 microphone, and I have, you know, the Blue Yeti X, $130 I think for it, or something, $140 or something for it. But knowing me, and of course I tried it out a little bit, but knowing me, tomorrow, next week, next month, I'll decide to switch the microphones or something, and I'll have trouble when I do it for a little bit. So I do like my new Razer keyboard. When I moved the Chromebox over here, I hooked up my DOS keyboard. That when I talked about how heavy it is, it can be used as a whip and all that type of stuff. And I forgot, forgot that it wasn't lighted. The keys weren't lighted, and that's a no go, you know, for me. So, but I've got 3 or 4 nice keyboards in the closet. Well, I guess not. I have one here, and I have one on the bed because I don't have enough room in here. So if I do something, I have to put stuff on my bed, then move stuff off the bed so I can go to bed, and it's just. Well, in the background you can see the one keyboard laying there, along with also some of my medicines and what else. Anyway, thanks for watching. Okay, as you can see, my room is a total mess because I'm always trying to find computer parts or whatever I'm, trying to do. Spend all day looking for a cable or a connector or something. This is my Chrome box. It uses the Chrome operating system. And I have hooked up to it the Blue Yeti X microphone. It's a USB microphone, so it does work with the Chrome operating system. Now over here on the other desk is my new B-Link mini computer, 16 gigabytes of memory. And then you can see there the Elgato Wave 3 microphone, also USB by the way. And so now I'm going to go to the living room, grab some trash, and take it to the trash container.